you guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a little while. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks since I uploaded last, just because of a bunch of boring things that I'm not going to bore you with. I just haven't been able to get on and upload. So, I'm back. Hello. I've gotten a bunch of things over the past few weeks. I'm probably going to split this into 2 videos, talk about the bulk of where I went today, but there was one place online that was having a sale that I got a lot of stuff. I'm probably just going to record that separately for another video. So, today, I went to, I guess you could say I've gone to 3 places in the past few weeks, but I've gone to most of those places multiple times. So I have a bunch of things to show you. Oh yeah, somebody requested on one of my videos, they saw that I have labels on most of my records on the Blake sleeves. I have labels on the back corner, and they were curious of how I cataloged. So if you guys want to see a video on how I catalog and sort my collection and keep my collection, I could do that. I don't know, maybe it's interesting for those of you who've been doing it for a while to see how somebody who's still only about a year in, how I do it. But I'm very, I don't want to say neurotic about keeping it organized, but I have everything labeled, I have everything in its spot, and that's how I like it, because that's how I find things easily, and that's how I can find information on them easily. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to ramble on too much about that. Maybe I'll make that video very soon if you'd like. But yeah, so the first place I wanted to talk about was a place you've heard me say plenty of times, Darkside Records, my local record store. I've gone there a few times over the past few weeks. The first thing I wanted to show you from there is actually from a band in a genre that I don't typically listen to. I'm really trying to expand my palette a little bit, and this is not usually a genre, like I said, that would be the first thing I would listen to. But while I was there one day just shopping for records, this really cool guy, JB, who works there, I was browsing the shelves, and I was looking at this one shelf that had a bunch of, it was like kind of like a front shelf, and it had a bunch of like really beautiful looking records that you could tell they were all from the same band. They were all the exact same style artwork. It was just, you know, different art pieces. And he was like, "Oh, are you coming to see this band tomorrow?" And I was like, "Oh, no." I had seen them advertising it on social media, but, you know, I was like, I don't know, I hadn't listened to them at all. I wasn't planning on it. And he started like talking to me about them and how they inspired him to just a bunch of stuff. And the way he described them was metal music with a southern twang, because this band originated in Savannah, Georgia. So I did, the ticket to the show was that you had to, the show was at the record store, obviously. The ticket was that you had to purchase or pre-purchase their new album that just came out and bring it to the show. That was your proof of purchase, and they could sign it for you, or they could sign something else. It doesn't matter. They were gonna have they were gonna be meeting people afterwards. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just buy this record. Worst comes to worst, I either won't go and I'll return it, or I will go, hate them, get it signed, and then sell it. Is that terrible? I don't know. But I wound up buying the record that day. I was like, alright, I'll give this a shot. And I didn't open it yet. I didn't want to open it just in case I wanted to return it, but I listened to their music that night, because the show was the next day. And a lot of it was like, some of the earlier stuff, I was like, because it was that very screamy metal that I'm not a huge fan of. But this one, I don't know, I really like this one. It had a bunch of really cool things. They incorporated more elements of acoustic into there, and the show that was the next day was full acoustic set. So I wound up actually really enjoying it quite a bit. Their acoustic set, they technically are 4 members in this band, but 2 of them are the rhythm section, so they went that day, but they were just hanging out on the side while the singer and the guitarist did their set. John Baisley is the name of the lead, and the band is Baroness. You can't really see it very well on camera, but they all signed it here, 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 and right here. They signed. And it was actually really, really good. Gina, I think, was the name of the girl who was on guitar, and they had beautiful harmonies and melody. That's a big thing about this band, is they have really, really great melody. And I agree, I do hear a lot of Southern influences in this. Isn't that artwork beautiful, by the way? Like, this is why I was drawn to that shelf. Like, John Baisley, the lead singer, the only original member left, he makes all of this. He's an artist, and he also does art exhibitions. Like, look at how gorgeous that is. And let me just show you this release. This is a, they have a couple of different presses that came out. One of them is, like, an exclusive, like, red vinyl release, and one of them is a very exclusive tour-only release, and I'll show you. That's the one I got. So this is the cover, and then you open it up. Oh, and the album's called Gold and Gray, by the way. So, gold and gray. But they really came out with the works with this. So they had these sleeves. Well, this is the first one. This is the record sleeve, gold. And then they had the discs in different sleeves, but then I put them in the MoFi. And let me just show you this before I show you the presses. It came with this gorgeous lyric book. And let me just show you. Like, look at that artwork. I love this next one, too. Sorry if there's any glare. But, like, look at that. It's so beautiful. I don't even think on camera does it justice. Like, the colors are absolutely insane. Like, I would just buy prints of this and hang them up. But yeah, like, they really went all out with this release. Like, this is how you do it. I think this is the last page, yeah. Like I showed you, it's Gold and Gray. All of their albums, I think this is the last one they're going to do this with, but are colors, so they had, well, most of them. I think the first one was not, yeah, the first one wasn't, but they have, like, purple album, red album, blue album, this is Gold and Gray, but like I said, I think this is the last time they're doing, like, colors. So the first one is very standard, translucent orange. And then the next one, I want to say it was advertised as Yellow Marble, but you'll see what I'm saying in a second when I say that that's not really what it looks like. This is the sleeve that came with the second disc, and that says Gray. And then the disc, as opposed to Yellow Marble, it's more of this yellowish smoke, which is really pretty in person. It's like a yellowish greenish color. This is the only set out of this whole haul I'm about to show you that I haven't sampled. Like I said, I streamed it that night, but I haven't, and I've streamed a couple songs since then, but I haven't given this physical album a full listen. So I'll definitely do that soon. So I'm not entirely sure how it sounds, but I'm sure it sounds good. But yeah, the members of the band, especially John Baisley, they were all extremely, extremely nice. They also stayed afterwards for a while, like even after the people at the show went home. Like the guests, they stayed around, they were buying stuff, and we sort of, like, just a couple of us, and I could talk to them, and they were just hanging out around the store. So yeah, it was fun. That is Baroness. Now that I've been rambling for Baroness for a while, let's move on. Even if you don't typically like metal, I would give that album a try, for sure, because if you know anything about me, I'm not typically a metal, like, screaming, like, hard sludge metal type of person, but... So this next one, I bought as a blind buy, and as much as I love Darkside, I don't think they have the best selection of jazz. I can't be sure because I am obviously a beginner in jazz. Like, if you watched my last video, you know that. But I don't think they have the best selection of jazz. It's a decently sized section, but it's not very big, and it's just, eh. But I saw this and it intrigued me, and I didn't even realize. You're going to see a similarity to this, between this and the other album I showed in my last video, Ellington at Newport, which I love. If you saw my last video, you know how much I love that album, and how it got me into jazz. but I didn't even notice the similarity of this one until I was at the counter handing it to the girl, and I was like, oh. And it's Miles and Monk at Newport. I guess something about At Newport now draws me subconsciously because of that album. But this also features John Coltrane. It has the Miles Davis Sextet with John Coltrane and Cannonball Adderley, and then the Thelonious Monk Quartet and Pee Wee Russell. Of course, now every time I buy a jazz record, I'm reminded of Chris, aka Tunes from the Man Cave. But I listened to this and I loved it. 1977 reissue. This is of the album 1964. It came out. Sorry, I blanked. But on that Columbia label. And it sounds fantastic quality-wise. And yeah, this is just a great album. I really enjoy this. I'm still trying to decipher. I've been watching, a bunch of stuff, and I've been trying to decipher different genres or different subgenres of jazz. So I'm still trying to, for any of those of you, aka pretty much all of you, who are more knowledgeable on jazz, let me know what you would consider. I feel like there's a lot of different sounds in this one. But yeah, this was a really good blind buy, and I'm glad I got it. So now it's kind of funny. Now, the only two jazz albums I have were not only both live, but they were both at Newport. So, which is interesting. But I promise I'm going to get more studio. I'm kind of like holding out for good presses at a decent price. I'm not saying I have to get a first press or anything, but for the studio albums, I do want to hold out for like I said, Darkside doesn't have the best selection. So the next one I got is my second Chuck Berry album, St. Louis to Liverpool. Everybody knows this album. A lot of people consider this his best. The entire thing is fantastic, but the A-side is just so good. It has Little Marie, Our Little Rendezvous, No Particular Place to Go, which I've always loved. That was one of the first songs I ever heard from him, and I love that song so much. U2, Promised Land, and another song I love dearly. It's one of my favorite Chuck Berry songs is You Never Can Tell. And then side 2 has songs like Go Bobby Soxer, Brenda Lee, Things I Used to Do. Just a great album. And I was holding off to find a decent copy of this. And this isn't an early press. This is actually a 2010 German reissue, 180 grams, so it sounds amazing. I'm still going to look out for an original press of this, but I saw it and it was really decently priced, so I really wanted it, and I got it. So, this is the German repress, but it's got the chess label on that. I'm very happy to now own a Chuck Berry album that is not the Great 28. The next one I bought was out also, believe it or not, a blind buy. I had never heard this band before, or at least I thought I hadn't. But, yeah, I know I've heard about this album a lot. I know that a lot of people consider it their best, their most cohesive album, and that is Echo and the Bunnymen, Ocean Rain. Don't you love that? I don't know. I think that cover goes so well with the, ignore that bend. There's a little bend there. But I think that, the cover goes so well with the overall tone of the album. This album, you guys, I listened to it, yesterday for the first time. Oh, it's so good. It's like this haunting, very dramatic but beautiful. It has this orchestra, and I know at least for Silver, the first track, it's like a 35-piece orchestra, and it has like these string sections, and it's just beautiful. Some of my favorite tracks are Silver, Nocturnal Me, Crystal Days, The Killing Moon. So honestly, Seven Seas, all of these songs on here are amazing. I love this album. It makes me want to go out and buy the other Echo and the Bunnymen albums. I didn't realize, though, I had definitely heard The Killing Moon before. Like, even if you've never heard another Echo and the Bunnymen song, you've heard The Killing Moon. Because I looked it up, and I was like, oh yeah, I heard it in an episode of Stranger Things, and I heard it in an episode of Misfits, the British show Misfits. I know it was also in Donnie Darko. Apparently it's super famous for Donnie Darko, but I've never seen Donnie Darko. I tried, and I wasn't into it, so I never finished it. But, yeah. Pick that up. A Winchester pressing from 1984. It came with that inner sleeve. on that Sire label. This one plays very well. I've said it in the past. The records from Darkside are all very good quality. They're very big on vetting them. And the only time that they're not good quality, they have it very clearly labeled with special stickers on the slipcovers, or on the, you know, the sleeves, their outer sleeves, that, the plastic, I mean, that they skip, or that there's a lot of background surface noise, whatever. But, yeah, this sounds great. And yeah, I'd really recommend this if you haven't listened to it. I'm sure most of you have. This is their biggest album. Even if you've never listened to another album of theirs, you probably have heard that one. The next one I got, as you all know, that if you've seen my videos before, I am very much still getting essential albums because I am pretty recent in collecting. Just about a year ago I started. So this is just an essential that I had to get. Madman Across the Water by Elton John. Got Tiny Dancer, Madman, Razorface, Rotten Peaches. You all know this. You all know this album. And this is a 1973 Gloversville repress of the 1971 album on the MCA label. In great shape. Very good shape. There's a little dings on the cover, but I don't mind. Otherwise, it's in perfect condition. So yeah, just an essential album. So I also got a couple of things from Amazon, a couple of sets. So let me just show those pretty quickly. Most of you have seen this one. There was a bigger set, a Traveler's Case edition of this, but I saw the money, I was like, nah, I don't really need that. Like, I don't really want it. I wanted to get this, though. Obviously, this one's a little more expensive. This is the triple LP version. The Explorer's edition of Egypt Station by Paul McCartney. I think this is definitely one of his best albums recently. One of his best solo albums recently. And comes with the lyric inner sleeves for all 3 LPs. I'll just show you one. Nice little different pattern labels for the capital. This one has some live stuff like his from his Grand Central show, the Cavern Club, Abbey Road Studios. I didn't pick up when it first came out because I was like, I kind of want to wait for, you know, a special edition to come out because you know it's going to, and I'm happy I waited because I got this. And the next one you all already know. You know this is my guy, my main guy, Bob Dylan, Rolling Thunder Review, live 1975. Of course I'm gonna get this, come on. That's my guy. I did watch the Rolling Thunder Review documentary on Netflix, and I'm not going to go into that now. I kind of want to make a separate video about it because I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I did watch it, yes, the day it came out. And yeah, this comes with 3, I'm sure you all know this, but it comes with 3 LPs, so that's the back of, this is LP 1, or disc 1, whatever. And then it just comes on. I'm not going to take them all out of everything, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But they're all just on black vinyl. So yeah, this is my second bootleg purchase. I'm very happy they came out with this one. Or they not came out, because it came out in 2003 on vinyl. But I'm very happy they reissued it, I should say. And this is the second disc. And you already know the track list on this is insane, and the performances are insane, and kind of just unlike anything Dylan had done before this. And that's number 3. So it comes with 3 discs. It comes with a little, obviously a download card. Then it comes with this gorgeous like booklet that more in here because if I showed you the whole thing, it would take forever. But yeah, like the moment it came out, I got it on Amazon. I was like, maybe I should have waited and got it on, like, at my local record store. But then the price went up. I pre-ordered it, obviously, and then the price wound up going up by like $15. So I'm very happy I pre-ordered it. No, it's just, it's got a bunch of like cool stuff in here. You know, so if you don't already have this set, I would recommend grabbing it if you're a Dylan fan, of course. Great press, amazing performance, and I got something really, really cool. I haven't gotten it physically yet because it's on layaway, but I'll show it to you guys very soon. Something very, very, very cool regarding this performance. But yeah, I'm very excited to show you guys that. So that's what I got on Amazon. And then the last place I went to was just yesterday, right? Oh my god, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. And it's, so I was at work and I was leaving work and I left work. I usually close at work. So when I got out early, I worked early this day and I was like, okay, this is cool because now I can like have the rest of my day. So I was like, I kind of want to go record shopping. So I hadn't been to this place called Hudson Valley Vinyl since I began collecting. This was the first store I ever went to, the first place I ever bought vinyl, and in retrospect, I think it was a little overpriced. You know, when we first start collecting, we don't know that. But it was the first place I ever bought any vinyl, and I hadn't been there since. And so I was like, okay, I want to go back. So it was like a 20-minute drive from work, so I went, and I got there at about 3, and it said on the door, we are closed at 2:30 today for Father's Day. So I was like, crap, now what? So I go back to my car and I'm like looking at what places are in the area that I might not know about, and I found this place called Newburgh Vintage Emporium, and it was, I drove past it about 3 times before I finally pulled in because it's at this weird intersection, and it was like a lot. And everything kind of pointed me there. And guys, okay, so I'm a huge junkie for vintage 60s and 70s specifically. Everything. I just love it. And even older than that too. But typically 60s and 70s. And this store was the biggest, most massive vintage store I have ever been in. And it's sorted into like these little rooms that are like themed pretty much, and they have like, there's everything you could think of, and it's really well organized, and it's not like a mess, and it's really, really beautiful in there, and I was obsessed. But there was also this like little, in each, like how I say that they're like little rooms, in a couple of those they had some records in shelves that were a little more beat up, which I actually have a couple of here. I'll show you, I'll let you know when I get to those. But there was also, in addition to those little sections, there was a section just dedicated to vinyl, and I'll put a little clip in. And it was this like really cool themed. It had some cool like retro neon lighting, and just the way that they, I don't know, it was a really like cozy little nook, and I loved it. They had some really cool stuff for great prices. There were a few things that were priced weirdly. And then it was weird because like on their wall they had these records that weren't they weren't really like the holy shit records. They were more, there were some up there that were holy shit records, and then there were some that were like $15 records that were like pretty normal. But then inside you found some like $75 records that were pretty like whatever, they were early presses or whatever. So it was kind of weird how they had that, but whatever. Either way, I walked out with a lot of stuff, and I spent a little too much money, but the people at the counter were so nice, and they gave me a 10% discount for buying so much, I guess. Because she just, like, at the end of bringing everything in, she was like, oh yeah, I gave you 10% off everything. I was like, oh, thank you. So I'll tell you the price of everything. But I also just have to note that I found a grail of mine. Yes, I do have multiple grails, and this is a grail of mine. For an absolutely insane price, and I'll get to that at the end, and I'll explain. But it's a whole little story. Alright, but first let me just start with these. I got a couple of Who records because the Who are one of my favorite bands of all time. When I first got into older music in middle school, this was one of the first bands I would listen to, and this was one of the first albums I would listen to, and I finally have a good copy. In fact, this is a first press of Tommy. So this was a first press, and fun fact, she accidentally, I didn't notice until yesterday, like after I got home and I was looking at the receipt, that she didn't charge me for this. So it wasn't that expensive to begin with, but yeah, it's a cool little first press. The cover's in pretty good shape, like it's still holding up. It has a couple of like very small splits, but I can't really fix them that well because they're in weird spots, because you know how it's a trifold. Like it's holding together fine, and as long as it's in the sleeve, it'll be fine. It did come with the, you know, the book, the lyric book. The original inner sleeves, MCA. And this is on, obviously, that good old Decca label. The quality of it, I listened to it yesterday. I listened to a bunch of these records yesterday, so I'm trying to like remember which is which. I want to say the quality of this, I would put it at like a VG plus of the media itself. It's got like a tiny bit of surface, it's got a little bit of surface noise that you can hear some of during like the quieter bits, and obviously between songs, but then the moment they start to get, you know, any type of volume, you really can't hear it. So I'm stoked to finally have Tommy, and not only have Tommy, but a first press of Tommy. So very cool. And the other Who album I got is another essential, of course. Who Are You? We all know this album. I was holding off on a good copy, early copy of this. This is from 1978, when it was released. It's a Pinckneyville pressing on the MCA label. This sounds, I would put it at a very similar grade to the Tommy record. And I feel like if I even clean them a little more, like I gave them a very standard cleaning, but like if I used something a little stronger, wood glue maybe, I feel like they could sound even better. And like they're perfectly listenable. Like I said, they're probably around a VG plus, so that's fine. Next up, I got my first Donovan record, Mellow Yellow. I love Donovan so much, and I love this record. I haven't been able to listen to this all the way through because I was listening to all of these yesterday, one after the other, to try and gauge how they sounded so I could let you guys know, and about halfway through, I was listening to them all full through, and I'm like, why am I doing this? So it was late, it was so late, and so I wound up sampling a bunch of the other ones. So I sampled like the A and the B side of this. I haven't listened to the full thing full through. I've obviously listened to the album, streamed it, or other ways before, but not this vinyl itself. Okay, you guys, all these audiophiles are giving this album so much shit for being, or the, you know, this version of the album for being rechanneled for stereo, and I get it. It doesn't sound as good as a mono. Nobody is claiming that. But this is a perfectly fine placeholder if you don't have a mono copy of this yet. I was listening to it, and this record itself sounds incredibly clean as it is. There's no surface noise at all. And this is from 1967, and the cover is in pretty beautiful shape as well, and the record's immaculate. So that alone is great, but it's fine. For if you want a placeholder copy before you get a mono, or even if you don't really care about that, it sounds fine. To my totally untrained ear, whatever. This record is perfectly fine. It's on the Epic Stereo label. The next thing I got was another first press, and that is a Rolling Stones album I did not yet have, and it's undercover. It's got the actual stickers, and this is in gorgeous shape. This person didn't play this album. Like, you really can't tell. Like, if you listen to this, and you would agree with me, this person never played this album. This 1983, it's a special, it's the specialty edition, and it came with the little mail order thing, so that's cool. And it came with the original inner sleeve as well. Nice copy of this to get. I'm very happy that this is the one I was able to find. So next I'll show you my Beatles stuff that I picked up, which is some pretty cool stuff that I found here. These next couple I'm going to show you, I found in one of the sections where They, like I said, it wasn't the vinyl section, it was just one of the vintage sections that they had like a shelf or two around with some records in it. And these, the sleeves themselves looked great for the year they're from, but one had both seams were completely open, like you could just open up the entire thing, like, you know what I mean, but it looked like they did it on purpose because it was very cleanly done, like the glue was just, so I was able to repair it and it looks totally fine. And the other one, the same thing was done but only on the top seam, so I repaired it, it looks totally fine now. Alright, so the first one I'm going to show you is Rubber Soul. So both of these are early stereo German presses. And of course, I think I prefer my Beatles and mono for the most part, but I'll pick up an early stereo press, especially German. I think that's pretty cool. So this one, Rubber Soul, is I think a third release. Yeah, so it's on the Odeon label. And it's a third release. I think it came out, like the album came out in 1965, and this was like early 1966, so it was like some months after it was released. But this is the white, oh my gosh, there, sorry. The white and red and gold Odeon label, which means that it's stereo. And if you see really closely, if any of, oh my god, I'm so sorry, the glare. If any of my subscribers happen to speak German, see that little ring? The ring of words all around? That's, I believe, the copyright, copyright, the rights agreement. And the way that you know that it's an Odeon label from 1966 or later is that it's just a little different. It's worded a little differently. So this one is this is from 1966, so this is a very early version of that. I think it's 1966 to 1969 had this version of the label. And it also comes with the, you know, obviously original inner sleeve, but everything is in German because it's a German press. So yeah, this is its third release, 1966 version of the 1965 album. And the second one I got, which was right next to it, is actually a first press German. It's stereo, but it's first press, so I think it's pretty cool. German copy of Something New. By the way, the quality on both of these, Rubber Soul, it could definitely benefit from some cleaning for sure. I think it could sound really good though. It just has, it has pretty substantial static. It's not like unlistenable, but it's not perfect by any means. So I would like to really get some either like wood glue or scrubbing bubbles or something on that and see what works. This one I would rate a little bit better, obviously from the 1964 album. And this label had that ring around it, the ring of the copyright, that the wording is a bit different. This one was used, this was their first stereo label they used all the way up until 1966. So, yeah. And this was a first press, like I said. So yeah, I got a first press and a third release German copies of some Beatles albums. So I thought that was pretty cool. And by the way, the prices of these, what have I said so far? Yeah, Rubber Soul was $27, Something New was $27, so those two were $27. The Donovan album was $10.80. All these are with the discount. The Rolling Stones, the first press Rolling Stones was only $7.20, and it's in gorgeous shape. So that was cool. Like I said, I got Tommy for free by accident, I think. For Who's Next, that was $13. And then this next one I purchased. This was only $6.30 after the sale. It was originally $7, so not really a big difference. But this is a Venezuelan import of Sgt. Pepper. So the thing about this is that it's a second release, a second Venezuelan release, still in 1967. And the thing is, even on Discogs, this is the one I did not look at on Discogs before I checked out. And the whole thing misleads you because it's totally marked as a mono. It's not marked, but that's the thing. It's not marked as stereo. It's the whole thing leads you to believe that it's a mono record. The label and the sleeve, but in fact it is a stereo record because you put it in, it's clearly stereo, and the Discogs confirms it. This release is a stereo version. That was just kind of marketed weirdly. But that red Parlophone label, that means it was a second release. I believe the first Venezuelan release was on a black Parlophone. And it sounds really good. This sounds brilliant, actually. For being from 1967, I would rate this as a VG++, maybe excellent. And of course, it's in its little gatefold, the boys. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this copy. Like, you see something like this for how cheap it was, and you don't leave it there, you know what I mean? So, at least in my opinion. And then the next one I have that is Beatles related was Dark Horse. I hadn't owned this yet, the George Harrison album. I hadn't owned this, so when I saw it, I immediately grabbed it. And this one was $14.40, so it was originally $16, and she gave it to me for $14.40. And just everything about it is in gorgeous shape. There's not a hint of ring wear anywhere on it. And it's from 1974, from when the album was released. And the record is in beautiful condition. I don't think there was any surface noise. I don't think this person ever played this record either. Whoever gave this one in. It's in beautiful shape on that blue and white label. I'm really, really happy that this is the copy I wound up picking up. It just sounds perfect. And, cool little thing, is that it includes, alright, so it obviously includes the inner sleeve in perfect shape. The poster, yay! There he is, in all his glory. So, a really cool copy I picked up. Like I said, no surface noise on this one, and the quality is fantastic, so great pickup there. So, finally, to what I've been hinting at, my little grail that I found. I saw this record up on the wall, and so I wasn't sure, because like I said, on their wall they had some weird stuff. They had like cheaper records and more expensive records, while they had more expensive records in the bins. I don't know, it was weird. But, so this was up on the wall, so I was like, okay, I know what copy this is, but I don't know if they know. Like, do they know and that's why they put it up, or did they just throw it up there because it's sealed? Because this is a sealed copy. Because the reason I didn't know was because they didn't put a price on it. There's no price tag. And so I was like, okay, I'll put it with my other stuff, and I'll go up and I'll see. So once I figured out everything I wanted to get, I went up to the register and I asked him what the price was. Because the type of thing they had, they're a typical vintage store where they have to input all the prices. Everything they do is totally manual. They do it all on a computer from this price tags, and the way that they like keep receipts of everything. It's just a very manual process. So he didn't know, so there's somebody that they text and or call to check the prices of these things. So they texted him, got no response back, so he was like, alright, just hang out while we input the prices of all of your other stuff anyway, and we will, I'll call this person, and just hang tight, it'll be a few minutes. So I'm sitting on the couch near the register, and I hear him call the person, and I hear him go, you know, the album, the name, how much is it? He didn't mention that it was sealed. He didn't mention if anything was special about it. He didn't mention anything but the name and the artist. And the person on the phone, there was a little pause, and then the person on the phone, he said back to the person on the phone, okay, $16. Okay, great, thank you. Hung up. So I think what this person on the phone did, whoever it was they didn't know the specifics of the album. So they looked up the album in general, maybe on Discogs or something, I don't know. And they found the general price, which is there's so many variables. So it's kind of odd that they did it this way, but they probably just wanted to get it done quick. So they just told him $16. So I was like, he was like, 16, is that okay? I was like, sure. And that is a sealed mono first press of Bob Dylan's John Wesley Harding. $16. I mean, come on. It's sealed, it's a first press mono, and it's staying sealed now. I'll find another nice mono copy to play, but this is obviously staying sealed. I'm so happy that I found this for $16. I felt kind of bad being like, okay, because I don't think he knew. I mean, I know he didn't know what it was, but come on. And I spent so much money there as it was. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Sealed. Nothing really much else to say about this. It's in beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful shape, and I'm just very happy I got this. It's one of my GRAILs, all Dylan Records, first press mono, especially sealed, are GRAILs of mine. So this is my first sealed original mono, first press mono of a Dylan record that I have. So I'm very, very happy to have gotten this. So yeah, that was everything I've bought for the most part over the past few weeks. I will make a different video about my other online order. It's from a certain comic shop. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of these albums? Give me some more suggestions. You guys have been giving me so many suggestions and I love it. I have a huge list and I've been going through it and I've been finding some really, really cool music. Subscribe if you want. Comment, like I said. Like this video if you liked it. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching. I gotta go film this video now, so stay tuned for that, and I'll talk to you guys later.